Peter Rowan remembers sitting on the back of a flat-bellied truck at the very first MerleFests, and he has really seen the festival change. He talked with me about MerleFest and the Watson family and how they've affected his musical career and how the festival has changed. Listen on to see why I had to ask. I am with Mr. Peter Rowan on the phone. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
So with the 30th MerleFest just around the corner, you've been to nearly all of them. How have you seen the festival change?
Oh, well, when we started out, it was playing on a flatbed truck in the middle of a field. The audience was sitting on hay bales. But in a way, that was that set the mark, that festival, for Doc Watson's vision of how he'd like MerleFest to be. And I think it's gone beyond that. And now, of course, they, have many different stages and many different shows. But I personally, I like things when they're starting out and there's just a focus of simplicity. I think that really helps the music. And what MerleFest has become is something very different. It's a very, the music is still good, but it's more for corporate pride. The initial simplicity is, you can find it, but it's a big show now, right? It's show business.
It is. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about your song, Doc Watson Morning?
Oh, Doc Watson Morning. Yeah, I was in a hotel in San Francisco. I had been playing a show for a man named Wavy Gravy, who was, very famous for his role in Woodstock. That huge, enterprise of Woodstock, the original Woodstock. And Wavy was sort of a natural MC. He could gather the energies of the, spaced out hippies and focus them into like yogic breathing and organizing food and kitchen. It was kind of the birth of the counterculture. Is it going to take care of itself? And I wasn't there, but I was playing a show for Wavy Gravy in San Francisco and staying in a hotel there. They kindly put me up at the nice hotel, and for once I had a decent view, and it looked out over the bay, so I turned on the TV in the morning, and there was the news that Doc had passed away, and I had seen him, before, a little while before, out on the road in North Carolina. So when it says, it rained all night in Frisco, it did. It was a rainy thing, but the clouds are rolled away, and this was like real early in the morning, and the city lights are glistening out across the bay. That is the street lights and everything at sunrise on a morning that had been a rainy morning, a rainy sunrise. The lights were still glistening, and that was from the view from my hotel window. And so I started writing a song there, and it's just my homage to Doc.
How did the Watson family inspire you personally?
Well, back in the 60s, early 60s, before I went down to Nashville to play with Bill Monroe, Doc Watson was spending a lot of time up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, when I had left school and started hanging out in Cambridge, Massachusetts, to be around the music. I had never done that before, right? I've never given up everything to just focus on music. And Doc Watson was staying at the house that I stayed at. And I was, I was taught to respect my elders, and Doc was a pretty easygoing guy with me, and he encouraged me. And I needed encouragement. I wasn't very aggressive about music, but I knew I wanted to play it. And I was playing Bill Keith and Jim Rooney in Cambridge, and Doc was staying at their house. And he invited me to, be part of his life. And so when I went down to the Carolinas, we stayed with his cousin. And his cousin was a woodworker and a kind of real country guy. And so we stayed there a few days on a trip through the South, and got to meet most of the family, and Rosalie, his Doc's wife, and Nancy, his daughter, and of course Merle. And then John McEwen of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band put a tour together, and we all went out on the road together. Me and Vassar Clemens, Doc Watson, with Merle and Michael P. Coleman playing bass. And so, Doc was just always inclusive of me. But Willard Watson was his cousin's name. And Willard was a great host, and we would sit there and talk for long hours, and then go to bed around 2 in the morning, and then wake up at 6 for breakfast. And breakfast was everything under the sun, because we were guests in this house.
So MerleFest is classified as a traditional plus festival. How do you see your music fitting into the rest of the festival?
It's funny you should ask that, because in the past few years, I've gone back to playing solo, although I have different people play with me. I've gone back to playing solo at MerleFest, which is how I started. Back in those days, Jerry Douglas, myself, Sam Bush, and everybody, we'd form a little group, and that would be my group for the show. But everybody's moved on to being, presenting their own act. And so now I go back to MerleFest as a humble pilgrim, and I do what Doc used to do. I sing a lot of old-time music. And that's my role now for this time being is, it's more like Moby Dick. Do you ever read Moby Dick?
No, sir.
Well, there's a great line in Moby Dick by the character who tells the story. Ishmael is called, because it's biblical. And he says, "Only I have lived to tell the tale." And so I'm kind of like, I've been out there hunting the white whale, over the years, seeking the mythological world of musical acceptance and all the fame and glory and things like that to go with it, but that's just accidental. But mostly been seeking the musical leviathan, and I have lived to tell the tale. So I'm kind of a little bit of a storyteller now, and sing the old songs because I can remember them, And then I'm still writing new material, and I have an album coming out that I recorded in Hawaii, an album called My Aloha, coming out on Omnivore Records. And that's going to be out in May. And then we're going back in the studio and trying to make yet another Roots Bluegrass record.
I'm excited to hear your new album. So what are you looking forward to at MerleFest?
Besides playing for a great audience, I look forward to seeing old friends. Everybody from Jack Lawrence, who was Doc's right-hand man, guitar man, to Don of the Buffalo, and play with them all. That's the great thing. I love to play with other people too. That's a big deal.
So, if you could go back in time and give a younger you advice, what would you say?
I would say, I think probably just, but thinking of it that it's me, I know I wouldn't follow it, but I think there's something to be said for a certain approach to studying music that has less to do with the casual good times that we associated with it. I don't really know. It's an odd question to ask yourself, but I mean, I think I would have moved a little slower in all my changes, because I wanted to do everything. Yeah. I wanted to play, reggae music and Cajun music and Mexican music and all these different musics. And really what I learned being a bluegrass boy has kept me, has made me able to do those kinds of things. Bill Monroe himself said to me, if you could learn my music, you can play any kind of music. And so that's what I did, really. I kind of broadened the horizon, but I came up in a world that was different than Monroe's, yet right now I'm going back to the roots of bluegrass too, which is, early ragtime jazz, blues, and Hawaiian music. Hawaiian music had a big influence on Bill Monroe, and he copied a lot of their melodies. And it was very popular music when he was growing up. When he was a teenager, it was everywhere. There was the big Hawaiian music craze, ukulele craze, right? Mm-hmm. So I think I might have, if I had advised myself, I might have gone to Hawaii earlier, and then down to New Orleans. That would have been my advice.
So what advice do you have for young musicians?
Stay with it. That's all we can ever say. Stay with it and don't beat yourself up too much. You know what I mean? Just give it the best you can.
That's good.
But the thing about music is that you have a gig. Whether it's a local pizza parlor or anywhere else, you got to play it as if you are headed for the big time. Even though you feel like you don't even know what the big time is, but you have the desire to give music to the people. And when you're young, especially, don't be halfway about it, right? Mm-hmm. Go 100%.
Yes, sir. So what has playing music taught you about the world?
That music is a universal language that brings people together and creates a spiritual dimension in people's lives that go beyond nationality and beyond any extreme political views. Pure music. Bill Monroe used to call it the ancient tones. They reach the heart of everybody.
My podcast is called I Had to Ask. What question do you wish interviewers had to ask you while they were interviewing you?
There's so many who, what, whys, and wheres. I think the essential question is what keeps you going, What keeps you going? My quest has been to explore the world from a point of view of what I believe is enlightenment, and the question with enlightenment is how enlightened, what's the goal? Is the search for enlightenment an enlightened search? And the music that I've played has been a kind of like ornament of my quest for an enlightened view, right? And I mean a view that in the end may be just what my parents said, think of others. I mean, that may be it. That may be the view. But, to be unwaveringly dedicated to a high view, I think is what keeps you going. And I'm not sure that's how other people get going, but it's for me, that's what it is. It has the highest view and pay attention to the dance in light of the view.
That's very interesting. Is there anything else you'd like to tell my listeners?
I would like to just say thank you to everybody for staying interested in, and especially in my world of musical exploration. I really appreciate everybody's support, and I look forward to seeing everybody up there at MerleFest.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome, dear. See you soon.
So in the words of Peter Rowan's spirits, think of others.